When local growers put great food on Tennessee tables, that's living green. Tonight on Live Green Tennessee, we take a look at the Saw Works Brewing Company in Knoxville. Then we visit Elemental Restaurant that specializes in cooking with locally sourced ingredients. And finally, we explore the net zero efficient solar homes in West Tennessee. All this and more coming up next on Live Green Tennessee.
This program is brought to you in part by...
Behind every Pick Tennessee Products logo is a Tennessee farmer who brings you fresh, local food grown with the kind of pride that gets handed down through generations. From now through fall, you can find Tennessee fruits and vegetables on farms and at farmers markets near you. Find your Tennessee farmers at picktnproducts.org.
What makes our state unique? Find out on the new Tennessee Channel, a statewide initiative by your public television stations. Each program is created in Tennessee, about Tennessee, and broadcast in Tennessee.
The Tennessee Channel, Saturdays 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern and Sundays 2 to 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on your public television station.
Funding for this program was provided in part by the United States Department of Agriculture.
Hello, I'm Melinda Kiefer, and I'm proud to bring you stories from across our great state on Live Green Tennessee. There's a positive trend in Chattanooga restaurants toward locally sourced ingredients and sustainable agriculture. And while the restaurant featured in this next story has been around for just a short time, they've worked hard to nurture relationships with dozens of local and regional suppliers. WTCI's Sean Townley introduces us to Charlie Loomis, partner and executive chef at Elemental.
We chose the name Elemental because to us it meant simple, and the whole reason we started this was so we could start something that was a little closer to the ground. The 2 North Shore complex we chose because it was developed only for local businesses to be in here. There's a lot of great neighbors, but really having highway access, being so close to Fraser Avenue, we love the North Shore. 2 North Shore is also a LEED certified complex, which is really important to us. When you first walk in the door of Elemental, the first thing you're going to notice is an entirely open kitchen. Initially we decided to do an open kitchen because we didn't have anything that we really wanted to hide. You can look back and see the chefs preparing your meal. You know, we don't have a walk-in freezer or anything like that because we only use fresh foods. Basically what we tried to do is to keep it simple in here but also make it warm. A lot of the tables and chairs and bar and stuff like that, we had used some reclaimed wood and had a local craftsman build it for us. All the wood is sustainably sourced, whether it was a built fixture or whether we had it built. You know, a lot of teak, some heart of pine, white oak. The reclaimed brick that's holding up the bar and the chef's counter actually came from across the street. It was an old timber mill, and we were able to reuse some of that brick. The tractor in the middle of the room, that's it actually came from a farmer on Lookout Mountain where we bought our first cow from. The bulbs on the outside of the room, they're called Edison bulbs, and we really liked the warmness that brought to the room. The LEDs, we really wanted to have a natural light, you know, like basically like sunlight when we're looking at the food, so that it doesn't look yellow or off-colored. A lot of the natural light that we have coming through the windows helps with our electricity. We run reverse osmosis water so that we don't have to buy bottled water. We can be proud of the water we're serving through our filtration system. When I was 15, I started baking in a restaurant near my house, and so I was literally going in at 4 a.m. before school, and I'd do some baking. After school, I'd come back and do a little bit of pastry, and eventually that wore on me a little bit the early hours, and so I came upstairs to the big restaurant and was able to start working up there, and immediately I knew that's what I wanted to do. When I first walked in there, it was like a different world because you've got so many different people from so many different backgrounds. It was the energy, the lifestyle, the whole thing. I was hooked immediately. I was lucky enough to have a chef that practiced sustainability. You know, back in the 90s, he was really amped about buying from local farmers and stuff like that. So he kind of ingrained that thought process in my head from the beginning, and then he would send me to different chefs and restaurants around Washington, D.C. that also believed in the same practices. I think that food should be emotional, and really that's kind of the next trend, if you want to call it a trend, is people asking where their food comes from. I think it's really important to know, the process and understand, why things are done a certain way, how the animals were treated, or what was sprayed on the plants and stuff like that. So I was, again, kind of ingrained to have that thought process, and I wanted other people to think that way too. There's a lot of restaurants that are doing a really good job with buying local in Chattanooga. I guess we kind of wanted to step up our own game a little bit and challenge ourselves. All the farmers have stepped up and have done an amazing job. We can literally call the farm, and then they'll pick it the next morning and bring it to us. So there's a lot of positive changes that we're seeing. It's most important for us to buy from farms that are practicing sustainability. We buy mostly from small farms. We're going to go to a farm and make sure that they aren't spraying pesticides and stuff like that. And then, animals, there's all different standards that we look at, including, no hormones, no antibiotics. All of our beef is going to be grass-fed, humane practices, stuff like that. We've got a lot of main partners though. Crabtree Farms has been around for quite a few years, and they do a great job. We've done a lot of events together, and they're a farm that I know we can trust. Bonte Farms, Steve Bonico is kind of starting to develop a relationship between me and their farm, and it's great because I can buy a lot of our staples from there. Potatoes, onions, all the basic necessities, and then they've got some specialty foods and some fruits as well. So that's been a really good one for us. I think it's really important to establish those relationships. A lot of times what happens is maybe the farmer doesn't want to fully commit to a restaurant because a restaurant might be well, we're going to have to send all this product back to you because the lettuce has holes in it or whatever the reason, and then the chef might not want to fully commit to the farmer because maybe the delivery system's off, or it's difficult, or whatever the reason for it is. And I think it's important to establish that relationship based on trust, and once you do that, then you're going to see a little more effort from both sides. The local community is really flourishing right now, and the support is definitely there. When people come into the restaurant and they see that we're trying to buy everything we possibly can locally, they're excited.
Saw Works is a thriving microbrewery which has taken East Tennessee by storm. Housed in a building once used to sharpen lumber mill blades, owner Adam Palmer adheres to a sustainable grain-to-glass philosophy. To that end, the team at Saw Works is working with Century Harvest Farms to create a full-cycle brew that everyone can enjoy.
Saw Works got started actually about 3 years ago. We created the brewery under Marble City Brewing Company. We had to change the name, and Saw Works actually came about in May of 2012 with the name change. And the name came from the building that we're producing the beer in was Wallace Saw Works, and they were a saw sharpening and refinishing companies for about 50 years. One of the biggest challenges, because this was all new to myself and the other co-founder, were some of the legal limitations and the compliance requirements to get involved in the brewing industry, especially in the state of Tennessee. So there was a lot of research, a lot of homework that had to be done, a lot of learning. And then for me specifically, running the day-to-day operations, getting to learn and figure out the beer industry in general, the people who are involved, how to work with distributors, end users, the retail outlets. So really just getting a feel for how it all fits together. The partnership with Century Harvest Farms has been wonderful for us. We were introduced to Chris Berger, the proprietor, the farmer at Century Harvest, about 1.5 years ago. And since then, he's taught myself and everybody else here at Saw Works a lot about how a farm and a brewery can work together and practice sustainable concepts. Ultimately, we want to have our product be a full cycle product from grain to glass. And it's exciting being on the leading edge of that in the state of Tennessee and working with Century Harvest Farms.
The partnership with Century Harvest Farms and Saw Works Brewing Company started when I came to town one day to meet the folks that started this brewery, because we were looking for a solution to a problem. And our problem was that we were exporting nutrients off our farm in the form of crops. And we were having to import various things to compost to replace those nutrients. And the sources were unreliable, and we weren't working with good source material. We were committed to finding a local source of byproduct from small business so that we could have a consistent source of high quality materials to work with. So how do a farm and a brewing company work together? Producer and processor. Their byproduct, their spent grain, literally comes right out of their mash tun onto our truck and comes down to feed our animals at our farm. And their manure gets processed into compost, that is the raw material for any organic agricultural enterprise. So grain to glass is like farm to table. Right now, Saw Works Brewing Company buys grain from Belgium. We want that grain to be coming from Greenback, Tennessee. So right now, we have a linear flow of materials. They're mined, they're manufactured, they're consumed, and they end up in a landfill. What we need are circular flows of materials. Saw Works Brewing Company and Century Harvest Farms are partnering to create a full cycle flow of materials, to create a group of products that all of East Tennessee can enjoy, but also to create a business methodology that is ecologically and economically sustainable.
Before master brewer, I was an apprentice, and I did it as an assistant and moved into an assistant brewing position. I did that for a local company for about 9+ years to learn the craft and prepare myself for this job. To become a master brewer, there's no specific degree or anything you have to have, but it doesn't take experience and knowledge, of all the ingredients, equipment, and beer itself. Here recently we purchased a new pilot system, and that has led to our Rough Cut series. The Rough Cut series is a clever name for our experiments with new styles and new ingredients. It allows us to try new things out without having to put it on the big system that would be 50 kegs. It allows us to make a smaller batch to really try out some new things, try out some new techniques, or just make something fun that we, don't think you'd sell a whole lot of, just something fun that we get to use for people to try and give us some feedback and see maybe if it gets good response to move it up to the big system and then therefore make a large amount for all of Knoxville to enjoy.
We have 2 flagships right now. We have a pale ale and we have a brown ale. Our brown ale is by far the most popular beer that we make. I think mostly because of the flexibility as far as putting it with food, with pairings. It goes well with seafood, beef by itself. The pale ale does well, but the brown tends to carry a little bit more on the market. And then hopefully next year in the spring we'll add a permanent IPA, so we'll have 3 flagship beers. We limit ourselves to the number of flagships for a couple of reasons. One is we can spend a lot of time, energy, and resources on pushing 2 brands, 3 brands, rather than having 6 or 7. It allows us to streamline. Every time you have a beer, you have marketing material, you have all these costs associated to it, all these resources tied up. And for us starting out, really starting out at Saw Works about a year ago, we wanted to just put 2 brands out there so we can really focus on those and make sure that we don't overextend ourselves into the market. And to be quite honest, with a startup, we have limitations. We only have so many kegs, we only have so much cold storage. So we did it to really limit our exposure, so to speak, and make sure that we can service the brands that are out there.
As the brewmaster here, I'd like to see in the future us really take care of Knoxville and give them something to be proud of in a local product. That Knoxville can, tell other people about. When they're in other areas trying other people's beer, they can tell people there to come. Next time you're in Knoxville, get by and try our local Saw Works. We want to give something for Knoxville to be proud of, and something that they look forward to drinking on a daily basis.
On this 3-part segment of Live Green Tennessee, we'll be exploring the completely net zero efficient homes of the Cowan family. The Cowans show us all of the options that are available for making a home more energy efficient, which is very powerful knowledge to help your family save money in today's economy. The first house shown was built on a budget of $120,000. The family stuck to their budget and still lives comfortably, all the while saving money and energy.
We're going to have 2 houses today we're going to talk about, and these are sustainable houses. They're both designed to be net zero energy homes, in that they're designed to produce as much energy on an annual basis as they consume. So the whole effort here is to build sustainably, to show that we can actually walk the talk of sustainability and put it in practice, instead of just having a theory of having sustainable housing. And in the past, I've been involved in other projects where we're trying to build sustainable, and we lost control of the budget. So what we're doing here on this house is kind of a proof of concept that we can build a house on a budget that is net zero energy home without a compromised lifestyle. And that's very key to the whole idea, is the lack of compromised lifestyle, because what I've seen is people don't like compromise. And if you want something that's going to be able to be applied to the masses, it has to be something that people aren't going to have to change their lifestyle.
We designed a lot of this just by gut feeling, common sense stuff, and most of it worked pretty well.
It's a holistic effort. You can't go out and start with parts and pieces in mind. And so when I say holistic, and we'll go inside in a minute and go over some diagrams, but you have to site temper it. So if you've got the luxury of starting from scratch, you can do your site selection and you can orient your house properly. And you want to sun temper the home. So sun tempering is you follow the sun and you get it positioned correctly for not only maximize your solar performance, but also your building shell performance. Everything's key. If you look at this house, you'll see a whole lot of glazing, a whole lot of windows on the front. But if you look at each end of the house, well, you won't see any on this end, but you see a small one on the other end. Those are east-west facing. This is south facing. So you have to orient the house to maximize the building shell performance. If we didn't do anything else on this house, and we could take this house and just pick it up and turn it this way, 90 degrees, and it would lose 14% of its performance forever. There's no way we could recover that. Just pick it up and turn it. Didn't cost us anything to position it this way relative to the other way. Either way would work. It's just that this one's, we put a lot of work into this design to make it work this way. So you approach it that way. You start with a site, and you drill down to every part and piece has to perform at maximum. So just looking at this house, you can see we've got the solar panels on the roof. They're south facing. The tilt angle is critical, so we've got the tilt angle optimized for a fixed array to get as much as we can. The window overhang, and you'll see the shadow at the top of the roof. See the total sun exposed on this glass. That's very important because now we've got a heater in there. We've got a natural heater in. The sunlight's coming through the windows. We've got a concrete floor that's got mass that's absorbing the heat and all the other parts and pieces. So we cut down tremendously on the heating bill or the heating load. In the site selection, not only did we orient as close to true south as we could and get our angle on our array to optimized, but you have to look at what's called a 9 to 5 window for shading. So you don't want any shading from basically 9 to 5, 9 o'clock in the morning up 5 p.m. 9 to 3 window. And so during that period, you'll get maximum exposure. And if you can't do that, then you probably need to look at another location. Well, in the summertime, if you look at the path of the sun, in extreme summertime, in June 21st, the windows won't be touched by the sun. So the arc of the sun in the winter solstice travels this path. Come back June 21st, and it'll come up over here, and it'll travel a path much like this and go down over here. But at midday on June 21st, there'll be no sun strike on those windows. So you want to avoid the heat in the summer, capture the heat in the winter, and that's the way you got to position it for total sun tempering. This one we built on an extreme budget, and so we basically had the luxury of picking our parts and pieces and negotiating prices as we went, and we drove the price of this down very low.
So I get a check every year from either Carroll County Electric or TVA, usually in January. This year I got $944. They furnished my electricity all year and paid me $944, so had a pretty good year, I guess.
This is where all the solar transition takes place. Our conduit comes off of the roof. The solar panels produce DC energy, direct current energy. And so as it comes off the roof, we have to go through an inverter to get that converted to AC current. And this is just a standard configuration with the disconnects and the labeling and everything that's required for participation in the Green Power Provider program with TVA. And so with this system, what we see here, you can't see it on the camera, but the display shows that since this system was implemented, we've avoided 590,000 pounds of carbon dioxide emissions. And that's a huge step forward in reduction of our big old carbon feet, is to do this kind of thing. And that's why eventually we'll all end up, I hope, doing this kind of thing. That's what it's all about. And to be sustainable, we're going to have to avoid our impact to the environment, and this is the first step of the process.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Live Green Tennessee, where we take you all across the state into the farms and businesses of those who are making the move to eating fresh, living sustainably, and helping us all be more organic in our thinking and the way we live our lives as Tennesseans. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Live Green Tennessee.
If you would like more information about Live Green Tennessee, please visit our website at livegreentv.org, where you can find everything from healthy recipes to past episodes and more. This program is brought to you in part by...
Behind every Pick Tennessee Products logo is a Tennessee farmer who brings you fresh, local food grown with the kind of pride that gets handed down through generations. From now through fall, you can find Tennessee fruits and vegetables on farms and at farmers markets near you. Find your Tennessee farmers at picktnproducts.org.
What makes our state unique? Find out on the new Tennessee Channel, a statewide initiative by your public television stations. Each program is created in Tennessee, about Tennessee, and broadcast in Tennessee.
The Tennessee Channel, Saturdays 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern and Sundays 2 to 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on your public television station.
Funding for this program is provided in part by the United States Department of Agriculture, providing leadership on food, agriculture, natural resources, and related issues based on sound public policy and efficient management.